Valve, very carefully, very quietly, took the Steam machines off of Steam. What was once regarded as an incredibly important project for Valve, a hardware solution for Steam, with its own version of Linux intended to compete with Microsoft's Windows operating system, is now no longer even referenced in the Steam store. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx we ask the question, what killed the Steam machines? In order to understand what has happened to the Steam machines, it's important to understand why they were originally launched. According to Frank Azor, general manager of Alienware, one of the primary Steam machine providers, said this: "The catalyst for the Steam Machine initiative was really around what Microsoft's decisions were for Windows 8. And if you remember that operating system, it really stepped away from gamers in a big way. We were concerned as an industry that we were going to lose PC gamers on the Windows platform to any other platform that was out there, whether it was console, Mac OS X, or Android." On the subject of Windows 10, he said this: "I think the landscape 2 years ago was very different to what it is today, and I would say that that's a pretty big understatement. It's not just that Windows 8 was a disaster though, and it's also not really that they were worried about losing Windows as a platform for gamers." You see, that sounds very altruistic, and there probably is some element of truth to it. When talking about this situation, technically, that viewpoint is probably the better viewpoint, so we don't want to demonize it or anything. But we also have to keep in mind the Windows Store. The Windows Store made a new Windows app platform. The Windows app platform doesn't work anything like the standard Windows platform. Apps are standalone applications that can only be bought through the Windows Store, and in a lot of ways the Windows Store was kind of coming for Steam. Now, being Alienware is a hardware manufacturer and not actually part of Valve in any way, Alienware doesn't really have to worry a whole hell of a lot which platform people are using as long as it's compatible with their hardware, and, well, pretty much everything is. So really, the new Windows Store was more of a threat to Valve than anyone else, because if everybody switched to that format, it would be a detriment to them. The Steam machines built by third-party manufacturers were not exactly priced to sell. The average Steam machine came in around $800 to $850, and although the specs were definitely better than consoles, is that really worth it to play a game on your TV? Especially when the lower-end Steam machines came in between $450 and $500, and would feature such low specs as 4 gigabytes of RAM. Some of the lower-end Steam machines have a dual-core CPU in them. On paper, that sounds very bad for the Steam machine, especially at the costs that they came in at. In fact, given that Valve has created an OS and did not manufacture the Steam machines on their own, instead sought hardware partners to do it for them, one could say that their intention was likely more to get people to build their own Steam machines, and could have kind of been using the fact that there are actually not great versions of the Steam machine up for a certain amount of money that you could easily build something that outperforms as a kind of marketing for the do-it-yourself PC gamer who takes pride in building things. I'm not saying that's definitely the case, but I've also heard stranger things. And truthfully, these lack of impressive specs absolutely did not light the world on fire sales-wise. Where with a console release, you would see a huge boom at its release, in which a console would sell several million units, the big Alienware Steam machine sold less than 500,000 in the 6 months after launch. Both the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One sold over 1 million in one day. In the half year following both of their launches, Xbox One had 5.5 million sales, while Sony had sold 10.2 million PS4s. That makes a 500,000 look not that great when considering that was the intent, to compete with that, to bring PC gaming into that realm. Or was it? Steam machines very much sound like something big. They sound like an injection of PC gaming into the living room. A PC gaming set-top box that gave you access to the entire Steam ecosystem, but Valve didn't really push it that hard. They briefly made a big deal about it and then they kinda just took their hands off the project. In part, the reason why people play consoles over PCs is because they are much simpler. You plug it into your TV and that is that. This was kind of a way to bring PC gaming into that realm, but there just wasn't a market for it. People who would normally buy consoles, well, bought consoles, or had consoles already, and didn't want a Steam machine. And then the people who did really want a Steam machine built a Steam machine, or had already built the equivalent of a Steam machine. We can't discount that, and there's not really a lot of actions on Valve's part that discredit the idea that they didn't really care how well the hardware did. So was bringing PC gaming into the living room really the idea of releasing Steam hardware? It could have been, but it probably wasn't. Remember when we were talking about Windows 8 and the new Windows Store that had a new type of application that was a massive threat to Steam? The Steam machine could easily be looked at as an insurance policy against that. Or if you dig spite as a motive, it could have kind of even been revenge. Hey, you want to edge in on our space? We'll edge in on yours. We'll make it so that console gamers have got a way to be PC gamers. And if they buy into the whole PC master race thing, whether your opinion of that is good or bad, here's a way for them to join it. I personally don't love that, but I do see that if they had aggressively marketed it in that way, they probably could have easily stolen a lot of business. So if Microsoft turned into a closed platform, or at least more closed than it already is, and made it so that something like Steam wasn't viable anymore, well, it'd be very hard for Valve to keep going on account Steam is the vast majority of the money they make. So they made an alternative to Windows. They made Steam OS. Valve didn't really invest a lot of money into Steam machines, the actual hardware carrying the Steam OS. They don't subsidize the manufacturing process, and like we said earlier, Valve does not manufacture Steam machines at all. Ultimately, it's a move that undermined Windows as a closed platform. In order to compete, at least in the gaming realm, Microsoft would have to allow Steam to keep doing what they're doing. And in that respect, it's a shrewd business move. Despite the fact that it may not have made anyone a hell of a lot of money, it did show Microsoft that they can't just do something like that. Windows 10 is a massive backpedal from Windows 8. Certainly there are a few things that Windows 8 did right and they were incorporated into Windows 10, and in that way, SteamOS and the Steam machines themselves became leverage against Microsoft. A means to remind them that they aren't the ultimate arbiter of what is good, what gamers want. Now, being Microsoft has backed off a lot of that, the Steam machine itself is less necessary, but SteamOS is still freely available. Having a Linux platform that is specifically for gamers makes it much more viable as a gaming platform, and that again holds Microsoft accountable through competition. Ultimately, though the hardware may not be there, the software will live on, and it will serve as a constant reminder. Don't mess with us. We have the capability to do this stuff if we really want to, and we have the money to push it. I mean, to be fair, there's still no GTA 5 on SteamOS, there's still no Assassin's Creed, and somehow there isn't a Skyrim, but that wasn't the ultimate point, really. Steam Machine likely served its purpose, and they're just moving on from it. And that kind of sucks for people who wanted the Steam Machine, but ultimately if Steam just gets to be Steam, that's better for everyone. If you want to play PC games on your TV, it's not really that hard to do anymore. In fact, one could argue it was never actually that hard to do, and the Steam machines will be remembered as a pretty bold move on the part of both Valve and some hardware partners, and hopefully it will become known and remembered that the Steam machines basically allowed Steam to stay Steam. But what do you think? Leave us a comment, tell us what you think, and if you enjoyed this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now is of course a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is of course a subscription. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon, you can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.